So it is 9 o'clock and I'm going to go ahead and call to order the Transportation Board meeting. Mr. Rorick, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Hogan, if you'll please proceed with the roll call.
Chairman Richard Searle,
Present?
Vice Chair Jen Daniels,
Present.
Board Member Ted Maxwell,
Present.
Board Member Jenny Howard,
Present.
Board Member Sam Elters,
Present.
Board Member Jamasita Peshlakai, Board Member Jackie Meck.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum and may proceed.
All right, thank you very much. It's great to be here in Pine Top Lakeside. We appreciate the invitation. We appreciate the hospitality this morning. It's always great to get out in the state, and I think one of the benefits of being on this transportation board, we all represent different areas of the state, and we may know our areas well, but it's always good to get out and see what the rest of our state is experiencing on both in transportation and different issues. So once again, thank you for the invitation and the reception. Mr. Maxwell, Mr. Elters, you kind of showed me up a little bit. It's July in Arizona, and I thought, jackets and ties were should be optional, but that's all right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Well, first off, you've got to remember that part of the state you represent, you are dressed up and looking good and professional. So don't feel bad about it.
Oh, you're trying to knock my part of
No,
the day?
absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
All right.
This is just the new uniform. I would like to piggyback on the comments, though. The best part of having this opportunity to serve on this board is getting out and meeting both the leadership and the people in the communities that we have to travel around and get to. I think, I'm hoping at some point in the future, we'll be able to have everybody here all the time. I know was the goal of Gary Knight. I know Chairman Cyril's been pushing towards that, and I think you'll see that. But appreciate you all being here. Appreciate you hosting us this morning. Great conversations. Mayor, appreciate all you and your team did for us this morning. And it is important because we get to get feedback directly from the decision makers of these regions on what they need. Testifying is one thing, but having an hour conversation with somebody is another. So
Yeah.
Really want to appreciate it.
Ms. Daniels, anything?
Just
Ms. Elters?
appreciate being here. Beautiful drive up. It was great.
Indeed.
All right.
Further.
Very good. Mr. Rorick, Title VI.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 and the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Arizona State Transportation Board and ADOT do not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, or disability. No person will be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefit of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination under any Arizona State Transportation Board or ADOT program or activity. To assist in measuring the public's participation, we ask each individual to please complete an online self-identification survey, and the link to that survey is on the agenda. For those in attendance in person, we have survey cards on the table at the entrance to this council chambers. Please complete a survey card and leave it there. We'll pick it up at the end of the meeting. By completing this voluntary survey, ADOT will be able to determine who attends its public meetings and how the department can improve participation. The survey will also help ADOT fulfill federal reporting requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rorick. And we'll now move on to our call to the audience. We have a number telephonically. I think we have a few in person. If you're calling in, you will be muted until your name is called. The instructions are online. In person, please note that you have a 3-minute time limit. And with that, Mr. Rorick, will you announce the first speaker?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Our first speaker is Mayor Stephanie Irwin. Mayor Irwin.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board and staff. As the mayor of Pine Top Lakeside, I would just like to officially welcome you to our community. I hope you're enjoying your stay up here and the hospitality we have to offer for you. I would really like to thank you for your support for the recent SMART grants that Pine Top Lakeside was awarded. We've gotten two, one of them for the Woodland Road project, Woodland Lake and Highway 260, as well as the bridge over Billy Creek at Pine Top Commons. I can't even imagine what you guys are going through trying to spread your precious resources around the whole state. And I do appreciate what you're doing for the whole White Mountains, as well as rural Arizona. There's been some great projects approved, and we appreciate your support, and we appreciate the teamwork working with you and working with your staff to accomplish a lot of this. So welcome to God's country. I hope you enjoy your stay, and we look forward to having you back anytime you want to come. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Our next speaker is Mayor John Leach Jr. Mayor Leach.
Well, Stephanie just took my speech, so I also want to welcome you. We appreciate you guys being here, being back up on the mountain. I remember most of you a few months ago when you had your meeting in Show Low. So welcome back. Thank you for everything you are doing for our community. Sometimes seems like rural Arizona gets left out of some of these projects, and I know there's a lot of work going on, and it's kind of strange because people complain about our roads, and when we work on them, they complain we're working on them. So I get it what you're going through, but thank you again for everything you do for rural Arizona. If you guys need anything whatsoever, let us know. Welcome.
Thank you. And I think we do have a Show Low project that's on the agenda, and maybe we should make it challenging this time. I don't know. We'll see.
Our next speaker is Mr. Vinny Gallegos. Mr. Gallegos.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In solidarity, no jacket, no tie, Chairman. So happy to join the group with you. You know, in light of the mayor's comment about rural Arizona, this is a great opportunity to remind all of us that, excuse me, in 3 months, we're going to have the 25th Arizona Rural Transportation Summit. And to the mayor's point, this was started 25 years ago for that very purpose, that it was decided then, and we've continued for the last 25 years, that if rural Arizona comes together, stays together, in addition with our partners in greater Maricopa and greater Pima County, that we can tackle transportation issues. You know, at your last meeting in Flagstaff, you all were starting to participate in a really active discussion regarding transportation funding, transportation policy, and what are those things that can be done. So want to, again, reinvite you and those in attendance and those virtually to really come join us in Prescott October 16th through the 18th. The purpose of this conference is really one of a kind in Arizona. It's the one conference that brings the topics solely focused on transportation and the decision makers into the room. And we're really going to take the time over those couple days to engage and to educate on the issues. But not only that, be able to leave there with some start of a plan. And you all were talking at your last meeting, well, what does that look like? When do we start that? Who's doing that? I would invite you to use the Rural Summit as that springboard for that exact conversation. We're not going to tackle it in 2 days. We haven't got here in 2 days. But I will argue that that is one great opportunity to gather with about 400 attendees. Half of those are about legislators. We're working hard to get our state legislators there right now. I've sent out invites to 50 of them, heard back from almost 20 of them, which is great news. We know they're busy. We know they have busy schedules, but they are making an effort to be there. You know, we've heard already from many on the transportation committees in the Senate and the House. So some of the very key people have committed to be there. So again, look forward to seeing you there, people like the mayor and others that really want to bring a voice to rural transportation. I hope we do that, but I hope we bring a voice to transportation in all of Arizona. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos.
Mr. Chairman, those are the requests I have for in person. Online, I have 2 requests. Our first speaker is Mayor Nancy Smith. Mayor Smith, please raise your hand.
Smith, if you could please raise your hand by pressing *3 or the raised hand signal on the bottom of your screen.
Bryce, do you see her as a participant?
I'm scrolling through right now.
I don't see her now that I look through this.
Yeah, I don't see her as well.
Then the next speaker will be Mr. Ron Angarami, and I do see he's on there. Mr. Angarami, please raise your hand.
I've requested to unmute your line. You are now unmuted.
Oh, great. Am I being heard? I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me.
Yes,
we
sir,
can
we
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
wonderful. Thank you. My name is Ron Angarami. I'm from Maricopa, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the board to talk to you about State Route 347. I've distributed to you a set of press articles highlighting some of the recent accidents on State Route 347. Hopefully you've received my PowerPoint. As you can see, the safety issues on driving 347 continue to escalate. Not even the police cars are safe. I've also included a summary of the accidents over the past 10 years on State Route 347 using ADOT data. This does not include 2024 data. As you can see on slide 3, there have been 35 fatal accidents resulting in 43 fatalities, 49 suspected serious injury accidents, 363 suspected minor injury accidents, 372 possible injury accidents, and 1,706 accidents without injury, for a grand total of 2,524 accidents over the 10-year period. If we take an average over these past 10 years and look at delaying the required improvements on State Route 347 by 2 years, we can expect 74 possible injury accidents, 72 suspected minor injury accidents, 10 suspected serious injury accidents, and 8 or 9 people will die. Not delaying the improvements on State Route 347 will substantially help you reach your strategic highway safety plan goals of 20%. Finally, in my last call to the public talk, a board member made a comment that I should talk to my legislator. I did that and was advised that the reason for the 2-year delay was ADOT was, quote, not ready, so it didn't make sense to budget State Route 347 in the new fiscal year. I am strongly urging ADOT to contract whatever resources or reprioritize other projects, and please do whatever is necessary to accelerate the required work on 347. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And we did get your PowerPoint was forwarded to us.
Our next speaker, oh, Bryce, I see that there's a call-in user that's a panelist. Is that Ms. Peshlikai?
I'm not sure. They are unmuted, but they did have the panelist code, so I didn't move them over.
Can we check with them? Call-in user,
Who?
could you identify who you are, please? It shows their microphone's active. Is that not correct?
No, yeah, you were correct. I'm not hearing anything from them though.
Call-in user, could you please identify who you are?
I can move them over since they're not speaking.
Well, let's
Well,
wait and
Floyd,
see if that.
this,
Yes, sir.
Floyd,
Who is
this
this?
is Clem Lagaki. This is Clem Lagaki. I have called in.
Okay, Clem, we're
just-
going to go ahead and mute you, please. So we'll continue on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize I was coming in that way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Clem. Our next speaker, Mayor Nancy Smith. Mayor Smith, have you logged into the meeting? Because I did not see her, Bryce. I don't know if you saw. I don't believe she is logged in.
Yeah, I don't see her still as on the attendee list.
So, Mr. Chairman, that's all the requests to speak that I have. If Mayor Smith would log in, I'll try to monitor that. And if you would open it again for her comments later on, that would be fine. It's your choice, but if not, she's not here now. That's the end of call to the audience.
All right, very good. Then I will go ahead and close the call to the audience and move on to item number 1, our director's report. Understand, Director Croft, you are online?
Yes, sir.
All right. Podium is yours.
Thank you. I apologize for not being there today. I'm a little under the weather and Floyd decided he didn't want me in his car. So I just want to thank the town for welcoming us today and definitely wish I could have been there today. So I'll start with some celebratory news. This month, ADOT marks its 50th anniversary. In July of 1974, Arizona's aeronautics and highway departments were combined to create the Arizona Department of Transportation. And to mark that milestone, we've been having a lot of fun looking back. I invite you to check out our ADOT blog and our social media channels for some great content, including photos from archives and lots of great history. Just to give you an idea of how far we've come, back in 1974, there were about 5,800 miles of state highway, and the interstate system in Arizona was only 86% complete. Since then, we've added more than 1,100 miles to the state's transportation system, and we celebrated the completion of Interstate 10's final mile almost 35 years ago. And not only is ADOT celebrating a milestone, but it's also the State Transportation Board's 50th anniversary. So the State Transportation Board met for the very first time at noon on July 1st, 1974. The new board consisted of 4 members from the existing Highway Commission and 3 members from the state's Aeronautics Board. So it's been really fun looking back on that history as a department. So moving on, I want to congratulate Arizona Highways Magazine for earning 16 awards for excellence in visuals, writing, and production at their most recent annual International Regional Media Association conference. We asked Kelly Marrow of the Highways Magazine if he left any other awards for any other magazines, but the magazine won 3 first-place gold awards, 6 silver awards, and 4 bronze awards, and 3 merit awards. The magazine was founded in 1925, so next year we're going to be celebrating their 100th anniversary. Arizona Highways has subscribers in all 50 states and more than 100 countries. So we're very proud of the work that the team is doing. Glad to see them receive this recognition. I want to give you a quick update on State Route 88, the interim project, which is the section that was damaged by flooding in 2019. Thanks to the board's funding approval earlier this year to restore limited access to 5 miles of that damaged Apache Trail, we've been able to make a lot of progress. As you'll recall, we had some of our maintenance crews doing vegetation removal and culvert cleaning, and they've regraded part of the road and backfilled the washouts. And then upon the board's approval today, we anticipate starting the construction part of that in late July. We'll begin the interim project. We expect the project to be completed this fall, and then we'll be able to reopen that 5-mile stretch of State Route 88. Sorry, 68. That's my past history. Near Fish Creek Hill for use of they'll be able to be accessed by UTVs or high clearance 4-wheel drive vehicles. Just last week, we released our 2023 Motor Vehicle Crash Facts Report, which compiles traffic crash reports from law enforcement agencies across the state. It reflects crash data for all of Arizona roads, not only ADOT roads, but city streets, county roads, tribal roads, and also the state highway system. So what we saw is that last year traffic fatalities in the state decreased slightly, but we are still near an all-time high. In total, there were 1,307 traffic fatalities across the state last year, which was a decrease of 0.98% compared to 2022. The numbers show that crashes associated with alcohol impairment and speeding continue to be the leading causes of death and injuries, which is an important reminder for all drivers to avoid unsafe driving behaviors. Other statistics from the report show there were fewer pedestrian and bicyclist fatalities in 2023. Our pedestrian fatalities fell by 12.3%, and bicyclist fatalities were 10.2% lower than in 2022. So we know that every fatality represents someone's loved ones. At the agency, we're continuing to work with our partners around the state on safety strategies, but we definitely need everyone using the roads to work together to reduce these preventable crashes. Talking about safety, last month I shared some tips for drivers on preventing vehicle-caused wildfires. This month I'll end my update with a quick reminder about driving in the summertime's extreme heat. It's always important to be prepared for the unexpected, so make sure you have a fully charged cell phone, bring extra drinking water with you in the vehicle. Drivers should also consider bringing things like an umbrella for shade or sun protection. We think of rain, but we need it here for sun protection. Make sure you have a first aid kit and a flashlight if you're embarking on a longer drive, and a travel toolkit and battery cables are also good to have. While we haven't had much of a monsoon season so far, it's always good to know what to do in case of a dust storm. We always advise drivers to pull off the roadway. You should pull off the road, turn off your lights, and make sure to take your foot off of the brake so that people don't think that you're driving in that lane. We want everyone to stay safe this summer, and with that, I'll hand things over for the legislative report. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we the legislative report, are there any questions for Director Toth? Ms. Daniels.
Director Toth, I haven't seen the data yet that you've referenced earlier on safety. Is there a note in there or a data set that would indicate the age of drivers that is most impacted by both fatality and accident? And the reason that I'm asking that is I continue to believe that perhaps additional driver training and a higher threshold for driver safety and capacity might be one of our ways of improving safety on our roadways. I've always been a little shocked watching my own children get their driver's license and wondering if they're actually really ready for that, given the number and amount of training that they've had. And so I point at myself as a parent as well. But is there any data that indicates that this may be a component of our safety, traffic safety data set?
We can definitely look at that and provide you information.
Thank you.
Ms. Howard, Mr. Meck, any questions for the director?
I do have a quick question, Director. On the SR 88, what's left after this 5 miles is rehabilitated? How many more miles do we have left for full access?
So with those 5 miles, that will provide, like I said, it's the interim project where UTVs, high clearance vehicles, 4-wheel drives are able to access it. Remember the larger full project is about $33 million. And so we will continue to apply for grants to be able to do the full project, but the entire stretch of 88 would be open to 4-wheel drives after this project, this interim project.
Okay, thank you.
I got one more question, Ms. Daniels.
This isn't something you referenced, Director Toth, but I did receive a letter from Sandra Watson, the executive director of the Arizona Commerce Authority. As an ACA board member, she was notifying the board about the economic strength projects. And the reason I wanted to sort of bring this up at the beginning of the meeting is because I know we have some of the elected officials in the room who may not be able to stay for the entire time, but those economic strength projects are the ones that are in partnership with ADOT, but awarded through a different, not awarded, but approved through a different body and brought forward to ADOT in partnership. There's 4 of those that are looking to be funded this year. Do you know when or if we as a board will be voting on those to move those forward?
I will look into that and find out.
Okay, it's the Taylor Cessna Loop Road Project, City of Kingman's Industrial Park Road Reconstruction Project, the City of Bullhead City's Highway 95 Deceleration Lane, and then Mojave County's Cane Beds Road resurfacing. So those are the 4 items. We might have the answer in the room. No? Okay, I won't call you out.
You talk about some other subject. They're getting ready for the next presentation. Is that it? Yeah.
Okay.
Apologies.
If there are no other questions for Director Toth, we'll go ahead and go to the legislative update.
So Director, I do not see Anthony on here, and I don't know if, yeah, he was on leave, so I don't know if there is a legislative update.
Okay. Very good. If there is not a update, and we don't have any questions for Director Toth, we'll move to item number 2, which is a district report with Mr. Wilson.
If I could break in, I got 2 requests. Ms. Peshlikai did send us a message saying a conflict's come up. She will not make the meeting even virtually. She's unable to attend.
Okay.
So she will not be here for the meeting. And Bryce, could you move Chris Kett up to a panelist, please, from the participant list?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson.
Morning. And first, I'd like to thank the board for traveling up to this wonderful country that we love up here. I'd like to thank the town of Pine Top Lakeside for hosting. And I just appreciate you came and visit the Northeast District. So I'm going ahead and get started. Next slide, Chris. All right. So this first project is the T-Still Wash Bridge on State Route 87. It is it's constructed by SEMA Construction. It's a $6.9 million project. And this project included the complete replacement of the bridge, and it's currently substantially complete. Chris, next one. All right.
Ed, can you wait for a minute? Because we're having, the WebEx is not caught up.
Okay.
So who's sharing the presentation to the WebEx? Is that here?
That's me. I'm sorry. One
No,
second.
no problem. I know we were having a problem here, Bryce. So actually we're having a problem trying to share it. Could you please show it? But then could you advance the slides when Ed asks for it, please?
Yes, of course. And then who was the panelist you wanted me to move over?
Chris Kett, K-E-T-T.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
All right, we're all set. Sorry for the
I'm
technical
sorry we're having the
issues.
difficulty here. I was not able to present. Give us 1 minute, sir. So you're able to present? Okay. I got it here. No, I think Chris got it.
We should get it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members, for us working through that. Thank you, Bryce. We'll handle the presentations here. Sorry, Ed.
Oh,
Wonderful.
perfect. All right. So this project is the Coyote Wash Bridge. It's being constructed by Vasco Construction. It's a $4 million project. This project involves the replacement of the superstructure, which is the girders and deck and everything above the girders, on top of the existing abutments and piers. So the project is being constructed half at a time. And we finished the first deck pour yesterday for the first half of the bridge. So we're approaching the halfway mark on that one. So next slide. All right. This project's on 377 from the 277 junction to the forest boundary. And it's being constructed. It's a life extension project being constructed by Cactus Asphalt. It's a $1.7 million project. So the project really involves doing spot repairs to the pavement, micro milling off the entire top surface of the roadway, and placing a micro cape seal, which is a chip seal with the micro seal on top of it. And currently we have the micro milling and all the spot repairs completed and the chip seal completed, and we're just waiting a little cure time to do the micro seal on top. So next slide. So this is on 260 over by Heber, the Overguard to Camperland. It is being constructed by VSS International as the prime contractor. It's a $1.4 million project. This is another life extension project. It includes micro milling the existing surface and placing a micro cape seal like the last project was. And currently we finished the micro milling right now. We have some spot repairs that we'll make after that, and then have to place the chip seal and micro seal coming up. So, and the next one.
That was quick.
Wow.
Are there any questions?
All right. Yeah. And in conclusion.
Iqbal, see how that was done?
Yeah.
That's how we do it. All right. So our next project here is the Pinta de Macaro project. So this project was combined with the Dead River Bridge eastbound project under one contract. It's Fan Contracting as our prime contractor of this $30 million project. That's a combined project amount. So the Pinta Macaro project section is a pavement rehabilitation project. It also includes replacing the bridge barrier and approach slabs at the Crazy Creek Bridge westbound, sealing all the decks on the crossroad TI bridges of Pinta, Navajo, and Macaro, replacing the guardrail, doing concrete spillways and other minor work. So currently, this project is just working on all the minor work right now. They're doing all the guardrail and the bridge seals, and the work at Crazy Creek is about halfway completed, and they'll start the paving portion of it in a few weeks. So, next slide. So this is the Dead River Bridge portion of that project on the eastbound bridge. This is ADOT's first effort in placing an ultra high performance concrete deck overlay. So the project scope includes hydro demolition of the top 2 inches of the bridge deck, then utilizing the ultra high performance concrete overlay to replace that material. And we're also going to replace the approach slabs and some other minor work in the bridge at the time. So the ultra high performance concrete is pretty interesting stuff. It's actually 18,000 PSI material, which is, about 4 times the strength of our standard concrete. It has some steel fibers in it so that will really control the crackage in it. It's very low permeability, so it won't allow much water intrusion. And with all those factors, it should be a very, very, very durable surface to have on top of this bridge.
Is this technology that's being used elsewhere?
Yes, it's being used quite a bit, especially back east, but it's our first effort into this on a deck. They have poured some smaller items like deck joints and stuff with it, but this is the first time to do a deck for ADOT.
And there's a cost benefit? I mean,
Yeah, there's an increased participation from FHWA for this innovative effort.
Yeah, thank you.
So, really, while we were pretty well having breakfast this morning is when they finished pouring the deck. So it's coming right along. So the next slide. So here's just some upcoming projects that we have. So the Business 40 Crestview to Joy Nevin project in Holbrook is a pavement rehabilitation project. It opened July 12th and it was read at $2.1 million. The US 191 project at Little Colorado River Bridge to Cemetery Road in St. John's is a pavement rehabilitation project that opened back on June 14th, and it was read at $583,000. The State Route 77 project, Taylor to Rodeo Road in Snowflake, is to install curb, gutter, and sidewalk for that section of road. It's let's see, and actually its bid opening is today, so it's about ready to go, and it's programmed at $2.9 million. The next project is the Main Street Central Avenue to Airport Road. That's in the town of Eager, and it's actually the town of Eager project that we are managing. And it's to install solar lighting. This project is scheduled to open on August 2nd, and it's programmed at $2.1 million. And the Wolford Road project, which is in Show Low on Show Low's Wolford Road. It's from Whipple to State Route 260. And this is a pavement rehabilitation project that opened on June 28th at $1.7 million as the ad read result. And the last project is State Route 73 and 260 intersection at Honda. This is a safety project to install some lighting and sidewalks. The bid opening for that is scheduled for August 9th, and it's programmed at $2.1 million. And that's really all I've got unless there's questions.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Wilson?
I got one.
Yep. Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. Mr. Wilson, I'm going to ask you a real basic question because I want to learn the definitions and differences between some things. So a lot of times we use the term rehabilitation when we're talking on a construction project versus pavement preservation or reconstruction or construction. So can you give me the definition of what the rehabilitation is? And is it more of a project, a construction project versus just pavement preservation?
Yeah, it's really, it's a little bit deeper amount of work that's designed to last a little longer. So preservation is more of the surface work with the shorter lifetime, whereas rehabilitation would be a little deeper treatment that should get, really more than 10 years on.
And am I correct to say that all rehabilitation projects do come through the normal construction project process?
Pretty much.
Thank you. Appreciate the help.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Mick, Ms. Howard, any questions for Mr. Wilson?
I'm more curious about seasonality here. Are we doing reconstruction? Are we doing road projects throughout the winter? And if not, what do you do in preparation for the winter for some of the seasonality components?
Yeah, and that really depends on the type of project that we're talking about. So, and how much effort you want to put into it. So a lot of if it's like a project that has a lot of dirt work and things like that on it, then you can pretty well do a lot of that during the winter time. But if it's something like these thin surface treatments, we're pretty well limited till June through August.
Temperature wise for the oil.
Front. Yeah. And so it really is very dependent on the work to be done on the project.
And is there a lot of preparation that needs to be done for your winter as far as winterizing, making sure we have, I would imagine equipment ready. I drove past your facility on the way up and saw that it wasn't exactly designed the way some of the ones in the valley are. So,
well, that one's been there a long time. It has, and yeah, no, we really are always thinking towards winter at these type of elevations. In the summertime, our equipment services staff does a lot of heavy work on these plow trucks because they take such a beating throughout the winter time. And so we catch up on that kind of maintenance. We do a lot of planning. We make sure all of our salt barns are full, all the materials are ready to go. It is really a pretty well year-round process between planning and doing the preparation work in the summertime and dealing with the snow in the wintertime. And in this district, we have some pretty good elevation. We're almost the entire district is almost over 5,000 feet. We're a little lower down at Salt River Canyon Bridge. There's a little low section that's just under 5,000 feet up by Denahotso, but most of it's all over 5,000 feet. But we also go up to 9,000 feet at sunrise. And so we really do try to plan our maintenance activities and that to really focus on those areas whenever we can get there and we have a little more time working in lower areas, like Holbrook or someplace like that.
Thank you.
Ed, remind me, where is your district office at?
It's in Holbrook.
In Holbrook, okay. Any other questions? All right, Mr. Wilson, thank you very much. We'll now move to item number 3, which is our consent agenda. Is there any member that would like an item removed? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Daniels.
I second.
A second by Mr. Elters. Really no discussion.
Mr. Chair, I've got one question.
Okay.
For the staff really on this one. So a lot of the right-of-ways were to do with SR 95. Is that part of the process? Because it looks to me like it's not just the right-of-ways to the side of the roads. We're giving the roads back to wells. Is this part of the process of moving the control and responsibility for SR 95 to Lake Havasu City?
So, Mr. Chairman, Board Member Maxwell. So a lot of those are excess right-of-way that we're taking and turning over to the municipalities. So we're taking them out of our inventory And instead of us having to maintain them, we turn those over.
Understand, I guess my question is it just the right of ways that we use for construction on that front, or is it the entire roadway? Because I know there's an effort to move SR 95.
But in this particular
their
case,
control.
no, this is just the
Just the
excess right away.
Good. That answers the question. Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it.
All right,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Elders.
just a minor clarification for Board Member Maxwell. It's Bullhead City. I thought I heard you say Lake Havasu. It is Bullhead City. And if you look at the documents, it references the IGA from September of last year. So this is just basically house clearing item, and the city is supportive, ready for it, and have all the ingredients in place to carry forward with it.
Thank you.
All right. With that, if there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. And since we do have two that are remotely, I'm going to ask if there is any opposition to the motion in front of us.
Jackie Mack, no opposition.
If there's no other opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. I believe the item passes unanimously. We'll now move to item number 4, which is our financial report. And Mr. Rorick, I believe you're going to present that.
So, Mr. Chairman, board members, with the current issues that we're having with internet problems, Christine Ward is working with the rest of the staff to address those. It is affecting a number of areas within the department. She asked if I could present the financial report because I do such a poor job. So here's our HERF revenues. We're pretty much on track with what the estimate was. We're within the range for variation. So I'm guessing she's going to say we're pretty good. Next slide. Here's the actuals. We're collecting $183 million so far. So, it's still kind of early in the fiscal year, but we're like I said, we're on track. Next slide. Regional Area Road Fund, Maricopa County. Again, we're within our range of variation. Next slide. You can see what we've collected so far this year: $62 million, $2.9 million. Next slide. That ends the financial report.
Very good. I don't believe we have any questions.
Thank the Lord for that.
You know, and a thought did cross my mind is on this financial report, a lot of times we get asked for a lot of things on the transportation board, and we really don't have any control over the income coming in. It's our duty is actually the allocation of the income that comes in. And I think we'd all, getting back to Mr. Gallego-'s comment in the call to the public this morning, is there's obviously not enough money to go around for all the projects that needs to be done. And so, but it does give us, everybody an idea of what kind of funds we're looking at. So.
And Mr. Chairman, board members, I know last month, board member Maxwell talked about a future board agenda to discuss some revenue options. What are states doing? And that is something that Christine's team is actually working on, because we do want to present some information to like the director and, maybe governor's staff and other people when we talk in the future. The system we have will be the system we're willing to pay for. And we've said that time and time again, and we've obviously heard it from the director and from the state engineer and others. And as you said, there are states out there who have found different ways to either produce revenues, leverage the revenues they have. And so Christine, I do know she's working on something. So Mr. Maxwell, we can come obviously later this year, definitely before the next legislative session. So we have something developed for that. So it'll be coming at a future date.
Mr. Chair.
Yep, Mr. President.
Thank you, Floyd. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that Christine's taking a hard look on it. Echoing the chair's comments about Mr. Gallego's comments, If any of that information becomes available, I think it'd be a great starting point at the rural, not just for the conversation, but for the introduction of other options. Everybody hears us talk about and say things like we need to modernize the transportation and infrastructure funding system. And everybody starts saying, oh, that something, they're just going to want to raise taxes. And that's not the case. A lot of these ideas on how to get the funding is more creative, more direct to those who are actually doing, we'll call it the damage or the wear on the roads. And there's a lot of different options to do it. What we do know now is the current system is not providing us enough money to address even a significant portion of the needs in this state. And the farther we get behind, as we see from on some of the longer fiscal reports where we see the side, and I know Mr. Byers shows us all the time, the status of the roads in our state, they're moving in the wrong direction. So it's at some point, I think it's a conversation we have to have. We won't be in charge of making the decision. This is something that's going to take legislative initiative and action as well. So anytime we have an opportunity to talk to the legislators about the different options, it'd be great. So even if it's not prepared for Christine to come to us to give the presentation, I think there's great interaction with the different MPOs and the folks working in this arena to have some of the knowledge and information as we learn more.
Just kind of getting off track here a little bit, gentlemen. So
it was a quick financial report.
I know.
For a moment.
That's correct. So let's get back on the agenda, and I believe, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick comment. I acknowledging what we all heard. I just want to point out and compliment the department, the chief financial officer, and our investors, because our investment pools are doing really well in this economic environment that we're in. Investing smartly can have a significant return, and I look at our investment and believe that they're doing really well. So just compliment to the department for doing what they're doing. If you can't secure additional revenues to meet the need, at least you invest smart and you get some return that way. So it's looking really good.
Higher interest rates definitely make that an easier job. So, all right. I will go ahead and close then for the item 4 and move on to item number 5, which is our multimodal planning division report from Mr. Hossein. And I believe you're going to be presenting the next 3 items.
4 items.
Okay, very good.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and the members of the board. My name is Iqbal Hussain, Deputy Director of the Multimodal Planning Division. Today, as I said, I will present items 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'll start with item number 5, the Multimodal Planning Division report. The first one is Tribal Transportation Update. Few updates on Safety Roundtable and Transportation Summit. The Arizona Tribal Transportation Safety Roundtable planned for September 18 and 19 has been canceled, and the roundtable is anticipated to be rescheduled in 2025. The 2024 Arizona Rural Transportation Summit is scheduled for October 16 and 17. ADOT's tribal outreach is now focusing on the tribal component of the summit. A save the date announcement and more information will be shared with the tribes at the end of the month. Next slide, please. Few updates on ADOT tribal outreach. ADOT is developing the Arizona Strategic Highway Safety Plan and Active Transportation Safety Action Plan. And we hosted workshops and public meetings involving local jurisdictions, transportation safety experts, and tribal nations. As part of our tribal outreach, we invited tribal nations to comment and participate in the Strategic Highway Safety Plan Tribal Lands Focus Area 10. Various tribes, including Navajo Nation, Hopi Tribe, and Hualapai Tribe, and others attended the workshop, public meetings, and joined the Emphasis Area 10. A few other tribal-related entities like Indian Health Services and Intertribal Council of Arizona also participated. Next slide. On July 1st, 2024, ADOT Traffic Safety Group, ADOT South Central District, and ADOT MPD attended a stakeholder meeting to develop the Tohono O'odham Nation 2024 Strategic Transportation Safety Plan update. The nation's project team will accept community input through July, with the first report expected in August. Some updates on northern and southern Arizona regions. A partnership meeting between ADOT Partnering Office and Navajo Nation is scheduled for August 1st at the Navajo DOT Office Complex in New Mexico. The topics covered will be updates on current and upcoming ADOT projects, updates from ADOT Aeronautics Group, and crash data reports. ADOT staff from the State Engineer's Office, Northeast District, and Environmental Planning Group will meet with officials and representatives from the Pueblo and of Joni in August 2nd in New Mexico. Another meeting between ADOT and San Carlos Apache Tribe Transportation is scheduled for August 15. Finally, a national event, the 2024 National Transportation in Indian Country Conference, will be held in Oklahoma from August 25th through August 29. This concludes my presentation on tribal updates. I'll be happy to answer any question you may have.
Any questions for Iqbal at this time? Very good. Move on.
Thank you. Then I'll move on to AZ Smart statutory and policy update. Mr. Chair and the members of the board, you may remember from the April meeting that House Bill 2318 made significant changes to the AZ Smart program. This month, I will be providing you with an in-depth review of the changes, the implications of the changes, and how we are proposing to address them. Our goal is to share the new version of the draft program with you in August for your review.
Is this still under item 5?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I did notice that on the agenda we prepared you, the chairman's agenda, we did not update that to reflect what the agenda was not posted to the public.
Okay.
So this isn't a proper item. He's not going rogue.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Just making sure. That's a.
All right. So there are 6 major updates on the changes on the program. Change number 1. The legislature opened the AZ Smart program up to any applicant eligible to apply for a federal discretionary grant. We believe this will significantly increase the demand for the program, and we'll see a wider variety of projects than in the past. There is a little background on this. Even though we have defined surface transportation to be road, bridge, transit, or rail and transit projects have not been able to participate because the funding can go only to cities, towns, and counties. As a result, the transit projects, for example, did not qualify in the past, but now they do. Our proposed approach on this, we are developing some criteria for the board's consideration to facilitate a data-driven comparison of projects. It will apply to all projects and will include current criteria such as looking at the amount the applicant is contributing, factors such as population, system condition, status of the project in TIP, etc. The priority criteria will be part of the application package and transparent to all parties. Change number 2. The board now has the authority to determine an applicant's technical and financial capacity to deliver the proposed project. This applies to existing and the new applicants such as COGS and MPUs, regional transportation, transit entities, and nonprofit organizations. Little bit background on this. The current applicant pool of cities, towns, and counties are well-established and transparent entities. The public has access to their annual financial statements even online. They generally are already in the state accounting system. They have worked with ADOT before, and they are familiar with the reimbursement nature of the grants. With the addition of the new applicant types, the board will need additional information to determine the technical and the financial capacity of the applicants. Due to this, our proposed approach is we propose requesting financials, technical, and organization information from the applicant. For example, 2 years worth of financial statements, bank statements, board resolution demonstrating the commitment to the projects, and IRS determination letters, etc. These items will provide data for staff to use in financial ratio analysis to assist the board in making the technical and financial determinations.
Mr. Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Quick question. Under the new applicants, you include non and for-profits. I mean, that would tell me it could be everybody. So I mean, anybody, any entity. So what are the non and for-profits you're trying to get to in that new?
Well, I do know that some of the NPOs are nonprofits.
No, I understand that, but so that's my question. Is the non and the for-profits specifically targeted toward the COGS or the NPOs? Because if it's any for-profit business, any business could come out and try to get to it, or does it still have, or is the discriminator that they have to be eligible to file for the federal grant?
Mr. Chairman and Board Member Maxwell, those organizations there who are eligible to receive federal grant, they are the one who will be eligible.
So they can be either for-profit or nonprofit. If they're eligible to apply for a federal grant, they're good to go now. Okay. Thank you.
So on this, we are currently working with our auditors to identify the applicable documents that we will be requesting. This information and the scoring will be the part of the application package and transparent to all parties. Change number 3. Applicants awarded AZ Smart Fund for design and other engineering services will now be required to apply for a federal grant within 2 years after the award. Otherwise, the award automatically lapses. So to give you some background on this, out of the 46 applications received to date, over half of them have been for design and other engineering services. Project design generally takes 12 to 18 months. Under the current process, once the board awards the design and other engineering services, before design can even begin, the project needs to be added to the TIP, and IGA is developed and approved by the council, the ADOT, the applicant, their attorney, and the AG's office. These activities generally takes several months. ADOT aims to shorten this time it takes to initiate the design work after the board award. This will help the applicants meet the 2-year deadline. Our approach to this is we'll be proposing a new approach called the request for project grant applications. The goal is to have all the administrative work done before the AZ Smart application is submitted.
Sorry, question on that.
Sure.
Is that feasible for some of our smaller rural areas that are applying? Sometimes I think what we do is, in an effort to streamline the ADOT process, we put up a barrier for the municipality or the county or whomever it is. So is this a feasible approach for them? Or, I know we're trying to shorten our timeline, but is this really something that they're going to be able to, are we creating a barrier, inadvertently creating a barrier in that process? Oh, look, you have a helper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, board members, we are talking to stakeholders now.
Okay.
And in the process we're envisioning, it is used in other programs throughout the state. What I'm finding is it's not a new thing for many of them, and they're still in control. They'll be able to, we won't make any changes regarding having specific rounds. The applications will be continuously open. And the things we would put on the front end is going to council, getting a resolution, and submitting it with the application. And we changed the wording in the statute. It used to call for an intergovernmental agreement. They deleted intergovernmental. So we're able to do it as more of a procurement approach where all of the administrative stuff is done upfront.
Okay.
And as I'm talking to, I had a conversation with Public Works Director for Pine Top this morning, and he was familiar with the process. He says we've done it before. We are talking with COGS and MPOs. We're trying to do some stakeholder work around designing the program.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
And that comment was made by Ms. Lisa Danka from our planning division. Please, if you're going to speak, please introduce yourself. We have on the record. Thank you.
I feel like we know you, so I think we're.
But
I know.
the people who hear it don't know that.
The record.
Thank you.
Next slide. So now I'll move on to change number 4. The board can now direct ADOT to close applications for a category which has reached a minimum balance. To give you a little background on this, we have seen very uneven application activity across the city and county categories. As an example, while the municipalities over 10K category was drawn down quickly, the counties over 100K was not. So in this, it is unknown at this point when the legislature will make further appropriations to the fund. Until then, the only revenue program the program has is interest earnings, and we want to sustain the program for as long as possible. Due to this situation, our proposed approach is staff will propose a minimum fund balance for each category. Once a category falls below that minimum balance, the board would direct ADOT to close applications until the fund reaches a certain threshold to resume accepting the applications. Change number 5. The legislation requires the board to reject an award if an applicant receives funding from another source for the same project. To give you some background on this, we observe that applicants often seek funding from various sources like federal earmarks, legislative appropriation, and AZ Smart to fund their projects. However, if they receive multiple awards, it can lead to the project being overfunded. To mitigate this, our proposed approach is we will be proposing guidelines for projects that receive access funding. For example, the project scope awarded by the board may not be expanded or enhanced, or other changes made in the attempt to keep the access AZ Smart funding.
Mr. Hussain, just not getting too technical, but it said board must rescind. Could that be a may rescind?
Lisa, if you're going to please come up so we've got it on record.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members, Lisa Danka with the Multimodal Planning Division.
Thank you.
I believe the statute is very clear that the board must rescind.
Okay, thank you.
So to clarify that maybe even a little bit further, sometimes it takes multiple funding sources in order for some of our smaller communities to be able to afford to actually even implement it. We've had a couple situations, I think, in the past where they've been awarded, but weren't able to secure the additional funding that they needed, whether that be bond or whatever else it is. So are we being really specific about when they can combine funding sources? Are there, is it just other types of state funding? Like, what does the statute actually say?
I'll have to pull the statute to confirm
I didn't mean
that.
for quoting,
Yeah.
sorry.
But we are talking about a situation in which they get a SMART award from us, and we've actually had this happen once during AZ Smart. And they also get, for the exact same project, they get an additional award from somebody else. And now that project was double funded. So under that scenario, they got the funding from the legislature. You know, you can't double dip. And so they had to choose to either give up the legislative appropriation or the AZ Smart funding. And they chose to release the AZ Smart funds. That required us to come to you and ask for rescission of that board resolution. And so, yeah, they're cobbling it together from everywhere. We know that. We're not trying to preclude that or discourage it. You know, we want them to get as much money as they need. We just don't want them to be overfunded.
Okay, so as long as they don't reach 100% of their need, let's say they have a construction project, it's a $10 million price tag, they get, 1 million from, I'm just throwing numbers, 1 million from AZ Smart, and then they are able to secure 9 million through their legislature, they're fine. We don't have to rescind anything. It's just if they got 11 million from, okay.
Yeah.
So that isn't totally clear in this. If they're applying it for the same project, I just want to make sure we're being really, really sort of explicit. It's as long as you don't exceed your total construction budget.
Correct.
For that particular project.
That's a good observation. We'll make that very clear in the call for projects packet.
So by all means, assemble dollars however you need to. Don't exceed your budgeted amount. Got it. Okay, I misunderstood. Thank you.
Maybe you should stay.
Doing great.
All right.
Finally, change number 6. One of the biggest board authorities in the bill is to redistribute unawarded funds across the categories. The redistribution will take place in January and July of each year. The first redistribution would happen in January 2025. We'll bring a proposal to the board on this topic as we get closer. Next slide, please. So the bill will be effective on September 14, 2024. There are some significant changes involved, but the stakeholders are anxious for the new program. So we are proposing an aggressive schedule. This will be August board review of revised board policy and AZ Smart application materials. September board, the final approval. And October 1st, the new program effective. In January board, the first funding redistribution. Because of the significant changes between July and September board meetings, we'll be working with stakeholders to review the revised program and finalize the draft program.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okay. Very good.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair and the members of the board, then I will move on to item number 6, airport guideline policy updates. And go back. Thank you. So then now I will present item number 6, airport guideline policy updates to the board for discussion and possible action. I would like to start with a brief background on this policy update. In January and May of this year, we briefed you about the updates to the airport development policy guideline. The purpose of this policy changes or updates are, number 1, from our previous experience, we observed that the smaller airport face challenges in coming up with their matches currently, which is 10%. Number 2, it will lower the match requirement for general aviation basic airports from for their airport payment management system program from 10% to 5%. And number 3, this will create more opportunity for the general aviation basic airports to preserve their airport payment and be successful in meeting or exceeding the growing needs of the public. In a nutshell, the proposed update to the board policy chapter 39 part 1 section C for the airport payment management system is that all airport categories will receive a 90% state match except the general aviation basic category to receive a 95% state match. Slide. So ADOT is requesting board policy chapter 39 part 1 section C for the airport payment management system program be updated to add a sentence for the state match percentage. And the sentence is highlighted red in the slide. It reads, the board may fund an eligible project's cost up to a maximum of 90% of eligible cost at commercial service, reliever, general aviation community, general aviation rural airports, and 95% at general aviation basic airports.
And this is the only change that's being proposed.
Correct.
Okay. And you need a motion for this approval?
Yes.
All right.
Next.
Before I ask for the motion, are there any questions on this particular policy change? Ms. Howard, Mr. Meck, any questions?
None here.
No question. Maxwell for confirmation when it comes to airports. I'm like, so good.
It's good.
All right. If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that to make the change allowing the board to fund eligible projects cost for 90% for the commercial service relievers, general aviation, GA community, and GA rural airports, and the 95% at general aviation basic airports.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jackie Meck, second.
All right. Mr. Elter, is it all right? I'm going to give Mr. Meck the second.
Certainly.
All right. So with that, I have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or discussion before I call for the vote? Seeing none, once again, because we have two remote participants, is there any opposition to the motion?
None here.
No.
All right. Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion is approved unanimously. All right, now we'll move to item number 7. Again, Mr. Hossain.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and the members of the board. Then I'll move on to item number 7, Priority Planning Advisory Committee, PPAC. Now I will present item number 7, Priority Planning Advisory Committee, to the board for discussion and possible action.
And Mr. Hossain, just most of these items are just moving the items from 24 into 25. Is that correct?
There are some, yes, correct. There are some
Okay.
modifications. Yes, most of them are 24 to 25, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair and the members of the board, for your consideration, I would like to present the proposed changes to the FY25 through FY 2029 for the State Transportation Facilities Construction Program. Items 7A through 7N are project modifications.
All right, very good. Before I call for the motion, are there any questions or concerns on the items being proposed? Mr. Meck, Ms. Howard, any comments or questions?
No.
All
Jackie
right,
Meck, no.
very good. I would entertain a motion then to approve PPAC project modifications and new projects, items 7A through 7N as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Howard. A second
Second.
by Ms. Daniels. Very good. Before I call for the vote, is there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, is there any opposition to the motion in front of us?
No.
Hearing no opposition. I'm assuming, Ms. Howard, that you don't have any opposition. That's
Yes, Chair, that is correct.
okay. Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item passes unanimously. Now moving on, item number 8, which is the Arizona State Match Arizona Smart Fund Program. Mr. Hossain again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and the members of the board. Then I will move on to item number 8, as a Smart Fund Program, to the board for discussion and possible action. Today, we have one AZ Smart application on the agenda, and the full application is included in the agenda packet.
And this is for ADOT.
Correct.
Any questions on the Arizona Smart Grant application request? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Jackie Meck, so move.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Meck and a second by Ms. Daniels and
Mr. Chair, I do have one question.
Mr. Maxwell.
I apologize for not speaking up the first time. So normally we get to see a slide that shows the status of all funds. Is that further in your slide deck?
Yes, I do.
We see that first, please.
Sure, sure. So if you go to the next. Next.
That's the one I was looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So do you want me to present this slide as well?
So with this, there's still
Plenty of ADA.
There's still over 5 million available, yes. Okay,
No presentation necessary.
yes, very good. I do have a motion in a second. Yes, I was remembering where I was trying to remember what I was asked. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Need all the help I can get to get through this. All right. Any other questions or comments on the motion in front of us before I call for the vote? Seeing none, is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing or hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, if I could, one question before we move on to the next item.
Yes, sir.
So the legislative changes to the AZ Smart Fund, I'm sorry if I missed it when I stepped out. Those will take effect 90 days from signing day. So will we have the changes to this chart, to the categories and all that in front of us before that date?
It will be effective on September 14, 2024.
Right. And so will we?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Maxwell, I think, Iqbal, you had mentioned, you're coming back in August with the actual changes. This was just to give you what we've got, since there was a change, staff is working it. We're going to bring back the full list of the guidelines to the application, to the policy. We'll come back in August for final board review and approval.
You stepped out when this was all presented, Mr. Maxwell, so I think,
I was afraid of that.
yes.
Okay.
The last part of your slide, though, did say that we'd be coming back in January for the redistribution component.
That the schedule is for January for the redistribution.
Okay. So we're just, in August, we're going to be looking at the new rules and
The
making
policy.
sure we have the policy in place. And then in January will be the redistribution of the funding.
Yes.
So then I do have a follow-up, which may not have been asked during that time. Did the legislation say that the new categories were not eligible to provide for January? So if we don't redistribute the funds till then, how will we be able to issue anything to those new folks eligible?
That'll be
between
in
November,
October.
December.
They'll be eligible in October we will approve the policy in September, which
I think this question's still the same, though. If we don't have the redistribution till January, that's going to show where all the money's going to lie. And how will we know those new categories? Or will those categories already be funded in October?
Mr. Chairman, members, nothing about the categories will change with the new program. There'll still be ADOT's category, munis over 10, munis under 10, counties over 100K, counties under 100K. So this won't change until January.
Okay.
The legislation gave you the ability to redistribute beginning in January.
Understand.
So we're anticipating starting to accept applications in October under the new redesign. This document's still going to look like this. In January, and we'll bring you the proposed guidelines for redistribution in the fall. Once you approve those in January, we will sum the amount remaining in every category. We'll divide it by 5, and we'll replenish each pot at that time.
So the follow-up question, Mr. Chair, if I could. I know you give me that look on, come on, this was going to be one of the fastest meetings ever. So when a COG or an MPO or a tribe applies.
What category do they fall in?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, members, we are working on that, and we will bring you a proposal. When we bring you the whole shooting match, it will be identified in there. It's now based on where the project is located, not who the applicant is.
I understand. I'm just concerned for that period where all of a sudden comes October 1st, the COGs are eligible to apply. And if we're going to see an uptick, I think between that and potentially the tribes, that's where we're going to see it. Because you've got organizations that work on identifying funding to spend. So I think I just want to make sure we're not going to find ourselves in a position where we're going to have applications from the COGS in November and we don't have either a redistribution or the policy in place. So thank you for the
This
answer.
will be in place.
Yes.
And you can redistribute for the first time in January. It's January and July if you choose to do so. It's permissive.
Thank you.
So since we're gonna see the policy in August, when they apply in October, they'll know. They just won't know the total funding amount that's in there until January. It doesn't really change their application because they're not gonna be taking the whole funding amount.
Well, actually, we do know what the funding amount is for the different.
No, that's, but what I'm saying is if there's a redistribution of in each pot, right, which is what we're looking at.
I just see Mr. Gagos smiling back there on all this opportunity. So I apologize for stepping out, Mr. Chair.
All right, we will hold your feet to the fire, Mr. Maxwell. All right.
Okay.
So we just approved you took me off a jet. You got me sidetracked here. I think we're done with item 8. We voted.
Yes, sir. You're ready to move on to item number 9.
Thank you for keeping track, Mr. Rorick. We'll now move to item 9. Mr. Hussein, thank you for your presentations, and we'll turn the podium over to Mr. Byers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 9, State Engineers Report. To date, we have 98 projects under construction worth $2.2 billion. 28 projects have been finalized in June, worth $59.4 million. Fiscal year to date, we have had 91 projects finalized. That's a pretty substantial number for this past fiscal year. So I'm going to kind of go through all the different districts and the projects we have ongoing. Next slide, please. So we'll start off with the South Central District. We've got 5 projects that we're looking at. SR 87 Skousen traffic signal that is occurring in Page. That's getting kicked off on July 22nd. That's a very significant intersection that is in desperate need of a signal. I-10 widening at Ina and Ruthroff is still ongoing. They're at about 55% complete on that project. I-10 Country Club to Keno design. It's a design build project. We had that opening in June, so final selections are still ongoing for the procurement on that project. I-19 and Irvington TI, the final design is being conducted. It's anticipated to go to construction in 2025. And then SR 90 Border Patrol Station to Mosen Road. That project is about 15% complete today.
Mr. Byers, on the Country Club to Keno, is there the possibility that we're going to have 2 projects going on I-10 at the same time? Or are they going to be able to work this where they're not both at the same time?
We should be finishing up the widening between Ina and Ruthroff. We're hoping that project is behind schedule at this point in time, but we're hoping to have it completed and opened before any actual construction starts on the Keno and Country Club.
That would be good.
So I'm going to ask a follow-up to that question, Mr. Chair, if I could. Yes. And so is the plan, if the one's not done, to delay the other one?
More than likely, we're going to have to, because it's just going to be, they'll conflict with each other.
Oh, I fully agree. So, I mean,
yeah. So, but
those are significant projects, and for the people that use
yes.
that throughout Pima County, it's that kind of disruption in 2 spots would be problematic.
Yes, it
that
will.
close together.
Especially for commerce coming through on I-10.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Continue.
Next slide, please. Next is this is North Central District. We got 3 different projects: US 89 and North Lake Powell Boulevard Roundabout. That project is getting ready to kick off. As a matter of fact, the bid opening is today. B40 pavement preservation project in Flagstaff. The project is under development. It's looking at going to construction in 2028. And then the J.W. Powell Boulevard TI bridge replacement project is about 50% complete. They're getting ready to pour the second half of the deck coming this July, or in July. Next slide. Southwest District, we have the US 60 Vicksburg to junction with SR 72. This is a pavement pres project that's currently under construction. It's about 33% complete. The I-10 Skate and Wash to Plamosa, it too is a pavement preservation project that's currently under construction at about 15% complete. US 95 Aberdeen Kessel to Kessel Dome Mine Road, currently under construction at 25% complete. And then the US 95 Rifle Range Road to Belton Mohawk Canal Bridge, that's about 95% complete. Next slide. Southeast District, current projects we have, Waterfall Canyon Bridge. It's a bridge replacement project that's just kind of getting kicked off. It's at 1% complete. It is going in conjunction with the Queen Creek Bridge. The two are within about 2 miles of each other. So as we have closures on the Queen Creek Bridge, we'll take and utilize those to do the Waterfall Canyon Bridge at the same time. So it's a much smaller bridge, but it'll has a major impact because we're going to have to close 60 through that section.
Two different contractors or one contractor?
Same contractor. We bid them both together, but they're separate projects. Next project we have is US 191 at SR 75 and SR 78. Project is a roundabout project that's about 2% complete as of today. And then US 91 TI, the permanent bridge repair. Right now, we're waiting for strengths on the bridge deck itself. Once we get that, then we'll actually get going on the bridge barrier. So that'll get completed. Next slide. This is the Northwest District. We've got a pavement preservation project, Needle Mountain TI to Lake Havasu TI. Has reconstruction, partial spots, as well as pavement preservation and a deck rehab that is ongoing, about 3% complete. The West Kingman TI, which is I-40 and US 93, is about 3% complete. And then the Centennial Wash Bridge, which is under construction and is about 6% complete. Next slide. And Ed already did Northeast, so next slide. So Central District, we have the I-17 milling project is complete. Bridge heck joint replacement has begun. This one has had anybody that's driven through there. We've had multiple weekend closures. We will be having some additional weekend closures starting not this weekend, but for the next 2 weekends after. So it's the same thing. We're going to be working on the bridge deck joints, trying to get those done. We're doing as much as we possibly can in any given section. So we'll be closing southbound one weekend and then northbound the following weekend. So next project we have is SR 101. That project is going fairly well. We're at about 23% complete on that project. The 101 Awafria bids have been open and we anticipate award actually starting today with the construction starting coming up this fall. SR 303 to US 60 TI, the project's been awarded. Pre-construction and partnering workshops are being held. SR 202 pre-construction and partnering workshops have been held, and we're looking at construction beginning in August. And then the US 60 median work is about 60% complete. That's US 60X. And then the I-10 Gila River Bridge, phase 1, the drill shafts are complete. Most of the equipment is moved back out from between the existing 2 bridges. So they're getting ready to start on the pier work.
Mr. Rogers, you might want to update the board on the emergency repair that you had 2 weeks ago on that same area.
So we had a hole develop in the westbound bridge, the existing bridge. We took and did a temporary repair on that. The bridge was closed for about 4 hours while we assessed what was happening with it. It was isolated into the number 2 lane. We took and put a plate over it to start with so we could release traffic. We got traffic released. That evening at 10 o'clock, we closed the bridge back down. We jacked out all of the concrete that was bad, replaced it with early high-strength concrete, and reopened that bridge at 6 o'clock the next morning. So,
Mr. Chair, I got one question on this slide as well. So believe it or not, Pima County, the number one question I've gotten for the last several months has been the I-17 closures, because there was such an effort through the July 4th weekend, through other weekends, to make sure there were no closures for the traffic. So what is the best explanation? And I can make an assumption and guess, but what is the best explanation for why we cannot keep those open on the weekends?
So why we had done it before was because in doing the milling operations, we have so much going on. They had multiple mills going, so they have to do multiple lanes along with the truck traffic that's coming through. It would make for an extremely dangerous situation to have that occurring and have live traffic. So that's why we didn't do it in the past. Now, with the 2 that are coming up, we're replacing the bridge deck joints, which go across the entire roadway. So we have to close the entire roadway in order to replace that joint. We can't do it in pieces. Those bridge joints go the entire length.
Okay, thank you. That will help in the answers to the questions.
Next slide. So we'll go on to item 10. This is new construction contracts.
Mr. Myers, just before we move to item 10, is there any other questions for Mr. Myers on this? Ms. Howard, Ms. Meck, Mr. Meck? All right, seeing no questions. All right, go ahead.
Thank you very much. So we've got 3 projects that we're looking at presenting today. All 3 of those actually came in under. To date, we have a total that has gone into contingency of a little over $78.7 million. So we're actually doing fairly well for the year. At least we're in the green, not in the red. So next slide. This is just a recap for per month as we went through the year. So we actually got back on track with our estimating and have actually, I think we're getting closer and closer to contract pricing as we've gone through the year. So next slide. So for approval, item 10A, this is a pavement rehab project on US 191. We had 3 bidders on this project. The low bid was $583,777. The state's estimate was $1,031,945, a difference of $448,168, or 43.4% under the engineer's estimate. The biggest changes that we saw was the low bidder indicated he had received a quote for the asphaltic concrete that was very competitive, much less than what the engineer's estimate was. He also has a much higher production rate than what was estimated. We went through and analyzed that bid. After analyzing the low bid, the bid appears to be responsive and responsible, and we recommend award to Sunland Asphalt and Construction, LLC.
Any questions on this particular project? I would entertain a motion then.
So moved.
And this is to award item 10A to Sunland Asphalt and Construction as presented. So a motion by Mr. Maxwell. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elders. If there is Is there anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item 10A is approved unanimously.
Next item is 10B. This is a conversion of lighting from high-pressure sodium to LED lighting on SR 202 from 24th Street to Scottsdale Road. We had two bidders on this project. The low bid was $537,640. State's estimate was $800,380, a difference of $262,740, or 32.8% less than the engineer's estimate. Upon speaking with the low bidder, the contractor indicated that the cost of the high mast light fixtures was less than the engineer's estimate. He also had a much higher production rate for the replacement of the fixtures than what was estimated by the engineer. Upon analysis of the low bid, it was determined to be a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Michiana Contracting, Inc.
Okay, any questions on this particular question?
Quick question. Has
Stan?
the city of Tempe been involved in this conversation?
Has who?
The city of Tempe.
On this one, I cannot tell you.
I'm not going to hold up anything, but I would just ask that if we haven't already, and I would assume that we have, but communicate with them. They've got so much economic development activity along this corridor, and the Tempe Town Lake is such a huge economic driver for them. This will obviously affect that in some way. So I would like to just make sure that they are communicated with and have that discussion about the lighting, the brightness. They've tried to do a lot with their own lighting within their municipality, and I just think it might be a nice courtesy.
We will certainly make sure that they're invited to the pre-construction conference so that
They may not want to come. I may be inserting myself.
we'll make sure the invite goes out.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Stan. Any other questions? All right. I don't have a motion.
Moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Daniels. Thank you. And a second? Mr. Elters? All right. Is there any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Any opposition to the motion in front of us? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item passes, 10B passes unanimously. I'll move to 10C.
Item 10C is a roadway reconstruction. This is Wolford Road from Whipple to SR 260. For this project, we had four bidders. The low bid was $1,699,500. State's estimate was $2,130,949. The difference of $431,449, or 20.2% less than the engineer's estimate. After review of the low bid, it was determined that the contractor will purchase the asphaltic concrete from a supplier in Snowflake. We originally had that coming from from much further away than Snowflake. The price is much lower. The engineer's estimate on the milling was to be completed by a subcontractor. The low bidder will actually be doing it with his own workforce at a higher production rate. With the analysis done for the low bid, it was determined to be a responsive and responsible bid, and we recommend award to Sunland Asphalt and Construction.
And, I know we have several people from Sholo here, but, concerned that we may not approve this. But considering the cost savings, it's going to be hard not to. So any other questions for Mr. Byers on this particular contract? All right, I would entertain a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion by Mr. Elters. Second by Ms. Daniels. Is there any other discussion or questions so we can let the people from Sholo go home? All right, hearing none. All those is there any opposed to the motion in front of us? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item 10C for Sholo passes unanimously. You're welcome. So with that, we'll now move to 10D.
So item 10D is a little bit different. This is actually SR 88. On SR 88, we are using a alternative delivery method for construction of the project. We're actually doing a construction manager at risk project. And with that, there has to be a guaranteed maximum price. And so what you're approving today is actually that guaranteed maximum price. So the guaranteed maximum price was $1,947,155. The engineer's estimate was $1,898,000. The difference is $49,155, or 2.6% over the engineer's estimate. After analyzing the entire guaranteed maximum price, analysis states it has been determined that it to be a reasonable and responsible guaranteed maximum price, and we recommend the final contract award to Nesbitt Contracting Company, Inc.
And just for clarification, with a maximum, that there is the good chance that it will come in under that.
That's the maximum that it could be without any change orders. And with a CMAR, it's written so that change orders have to be very explicit. So yes, that'll be the maximum that it'll ever go.
But there is still there is the possibility that they will come in less.
This is actually done a little bit differently, and we kind of flipped the way we normally do a CMAR. What we've basically done is we took and laid out all of the bid items, and what we'll do is we'll actually run those bid items out till we complete the work or max out that particular line item. So we'll probably take it all the way up to that guaranteed maximum price and do as much work as we possibly can.
So it's going to be it's not on the funding, it's going to be on the amount of work done.
Right.
Very good. Okay.
Follow-up question. So obviously I understand that part of it. But what will this project do to open up SR 88, or is this on a section of SR 88 that's already open?
No, this will actually open. This is the bulk of the work that needs to be done to be able to clear the rockfall that has occurred on the roadway itself. So it'll clear that out, be able to take and do all the safety work that's necessary along that stretch. Basically even out the roadway coming through. I'm not going to say smooth the road, but even out the roadway coming through that section to be able to make it passable for four-wheel drive and ATVs coming through that section. There's a lot of the work that has actually already been done by ADOT forces for the remainder of the project.
But so if I understand it, like you said, you've got a project list that you're going to get as many of them done as possible, but there is potential that they could hit that maximum, and we're not quite there yet.
Oh, we will. We will have it, because the way those items are put together, we will be able to clear the road. We'll be able to do everything. What will probably, the ones that we may not be able to get done is, as much clearing, because we're going to take this out as far as we possibly can. So we'll clear the section that has to be cleared and taken care of. And then if we still have funding left over, we'll take and kind of work that a little bit further out.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Howard, this is your district. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. And yet,
No other questions, but this is the major segment that Supervisor Surdy and some of the community stakeholders have really been focused on. So this is the piece that they've all been sort of waiting for, I think.
And that's why we brought this to the board and are introducing.
Helpful, thank you.
okay. There is no other questions. I'm entertaining a motion to approve item 10D as presented.
So move.
Motion by Ms. Daniels, a second by
Second.
Mr. Elters. I really appreciate your seconding today. It's helped. So I have a motion by Ms. Daniels and a second by Mr. Elters. Any other discussion or questions before I call for the vote? Hearing none. Is there any opposition to the motion? Hearing no opposition, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Item passes. Item 10D passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 11.
So, Mr. Chairman, I do have one clarification. I've been asked to clarify one thing. When when the board was addressing item 8, you had called for the motion, which Mr. Meck had given. A second was given by Ms. Daniels. You asked for any opposition. There was none. You called for the vote. You said yes. But then questions started happening and you did not declare that it passed unanimously.
Okay.
So to clarify it, item 8 passed unanimously. Is that correct?
Yes, this item 8 passes unanimously. I was, thanking Mr. Maxwell for keeping us on the agenda. Fortunately, it was a smart grant questions where I could not close them saying, but anyhow, yes, item 8 passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, item number 11, which is suggestions for future board items or agenda items. Is there anything that would like to be brought forward at this time?
And just a reminder, next meeting is August 16th. We will meet at the county chambers in Safford.
Very good. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you for everybody's participation.